Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. A reminder of our top stories. Large turnout of delegates as APC holds World Congress across Nigeria. Poor logistics and violence mar conduct in some states. Former Deputy Governor of Osun State, Iyola Omishore, emerges PDP candidate in the state's governorship election holding in August. End game for 20 alleged kidnappers in Anambra State as they end up in police net. And millions of Afghans turn out to elect a new president amid reports of ballot paper shortages and sporadic violence. Now, all our top stories can be found on our website, ChannelsTV.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. To get us on the move, visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. And it gets even better. You can now interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS, and Windows 8 platforms. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions to share your report, pictures, and videos. And following our eyewitness report, Abia State Government has finally come to the aid of the residents and commuters using the dilapidated Muri Bridge at Ebem Ohafia community of the state after years of neglect. While inspecting the project site, the Commissioner for Works, Emeka Nwachukwu, explained that the rehabilitation of the bridge will prevent accidents and deaths.
Reprieve is finally underway after years of abandonment of the Muri Bridge located in the community, which has become a death trap. Just last month, Channels Television brought an exclusive report on the deplorable state of this bridge, which links the community to other parts of the state, that finally got the attention of the state government and it swung to action. The team from the state government is here to ascertain the level of work done. While the work is ongoing, the Commissioner, however, urges the people to support this effort by cooperating with the contractor. No doubt, when completed, this is sure going to alleviate the sufferings of the people and also end years of living in fear of the danger which the dilapidated bridge posed.
We'd like to thank our viewers for sending in that report and encourage them to keep the reports coming in. Now, 30 youths from the Niger Delta region are currently undergoing training in electrical engineering in Grenoble, France, which has been sponsored by the federal government. While the training is part of the government's transformation program. From southern France, our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, reports.
Unlike young, energetic people of African descent who leave base and travel to the west in search of greener pastures for themselves, these ones are burdened with a societal challenge they hope to fix. So while Nigeria is getting set for a revolution in the power sector, the federal government is hoping to develop manpower in that direction, which today has produced a partnership with the French government and Schneider Electric to train these young ones over a one-year period in this place, the Isaac Burrow Center in Grenoble, South France.
For the first part of this training, we are doing our best to make them, all of them, to become all of them good workers, okay? The second part, we are going to enter design of automation or domestic fitting.
Schneider Electric boasts of being world's leader in energy efficiency, and that is what it hopes to impact by way of hands-on-the-job training for these potential agents of change. Also, Channels TV is best at what it does and is hoping to help galvanize the exponential growth possibility through energy supply. So, we are in France tracking the progress of these 30 Nigerian youths. Barely few months in training, their progress appears resounding.
Their motivation, the time they spend to learn, their expectation when they are back, their vision of their role in the society in their country is really something which surprised us, sincerely.
Will these eventually turn out a brain drain project?
It's a federal government initiative to create the necessary manpower to tackle our power problem. So I want to say I'm happy to be here today because I believe in being part of the solution, not part of the problem or trying to label it.
Great enthusiasm there by young Nigerians from the Niger Delta region training for competencies in electrotechnical. And whilst we have put behind us the job tragedy back home, it's important to know that competencies can only be sustainable with the right skills acquisition and entrepreneurial training. From Grenoble, South France, Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Now, almost 200 countries have agreed to limit global warming to less than 2.0 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times, mainly by curbing emissions from burning fossil fuels. And this follows the report of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which warns that the impact of climate change may be worse than it was first thought. Our correspondent, Ayola Kasim, reports on what is expected of government to mitigate the effects of climate change.
Global warming poses a mounting threat to the health, economic prospects, food and water sources of billions of people. The latest report from the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change places an emphasis on the risks and may make the case for cutting greenhouse gas emissions clearer, both to policymakers and the public, by placing it in the category of an insurance policy for the planet.
Climate change really is one of the defining challenges of the 21st century, and the IPCC is uniquely positioned to allow policymakers, all the way from individuals to international organizations, to deal effectively, robustly, and optimistically with a challenging future.
In its Green Economy reports, the United Nations Environment Programme argues the reason why there are so many global crises associated with climate change, food, energy and finance is because money was being invested in a brown economy, that is fossil fuels, instead of green sectors which focus on renewable energy. The Nigerian government policies and regulations appear inactive as the number of oil spills in the Niger Delta continues to rise. The release of toxic waste and effluent from industries continues unabated. Agencies in charge of keeping protected areas are understaffed and not well funded. And while developed economies are bringing down emission levels by discarding obsolete electronics and replacing them with eco-friendly ones, these same e-waste has found a safe haven in Nigeria.
What Nigeria needs to do is to look at other countries and really have an inventory of the technology that is available. But please don't make that mistake. Technology doesn't fix problems. It's always social aspects, political aspects that mess it up. So yes, you can have a list of technology that would help, like a solar-powered irrigation pump, but who owns it, who uses it, for what benefit, who owns the produce that is produced with a solar-powered irrigation pump? That needs to be sorted out.
The United Nations expects countries like Nigeria to show more commitment in going green. To help deal with climate change, the World Agency recommends everything from renewable energy to better housing insulation, but say that there's no silver bullet yet.
Ayola Kasim reporting for Channels Television News.
Well, farmers have been reacting to the federal government's plan to establish pastures for Fulani herdsmen in the north-central zone. Some of the farmers who spoke with Channels Television say it is a welcome development which will put an end to the crisis which has claimed many lives, property, and even prevented farming activities. Aside from the grazing areas, the federal government is also planning to implement the Great Green Wall Agreement, which would address the challenges of desertification and deforestation.
Nigeria's Middle Belt region has recently been witnessing clashes between farmers and herdsmen. The herdsmen were accused by farmers of trespassing their farmlands. However, desertification and land degradation are major challenges to the people in the Sahel Savannah, who are predominantly herdsmen. This is what informed their decision to move further south in search of greener pasture. The result is a clash being experienced in Nigeria's Middle Belt. To help restore the environment, the federal government has earmarked the sum of 10 billion naira for the implementation of the Great Green Wall Environmental Program to check desertification in the country. This would ultimately reduce the clash between farmers and the herdsmen.
More than 35% of land area of 923.768 square kilometers is threatened by desertification, affecting the livelihoods of more than 40 million Nigerian people. Nigeria therefore believes that this program will contribute to address these issues, as well as play positive roles in our fight against the insurgencies being experienced in the northern part of the country.
Even the resource degradation is affecting our ability to have enough grazing areas, the amount of grazing resources that we can have. We will need to expand the amount of grazing reserves and also stock routes that we have, but we must recognize that those are necessary conditions, but not sufficient conditions.
Farmers believe that the implementation of the Great Green Wall Agreement and the establishment of a Grazing Reserve Committee are initiatives that will address the crisis between the farmers and the herdsmen.
We did not have this problem in the past because by this time when the farmers were about to crop, most of the cattle farmers will go back up north. But this time around, because of maybe desertification, which is fast encroaching in the north, some of the cattle have to come all the way from Niger, some to Senegal, up to Nigeria. So I think it will be good for a government to have a policy on what constitutes grazing reserve and what constitutes farmlands.
Like me, I agree. We haven't been say like here now. If you then go here and say this place will belong to, how them go to follow when they no go destroy the remainder thing, it go good.
At the last count, 17 states have so far been affected by the conflict. Concerned Nigerians are worried that the conflict is spreading like wildfire.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria gets set to become the largest economy in Africa. Find out what this means for the country. Please join us again.